Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
All right, time that many of you wait for every week, especially the women in our audience, because they just want to hear his sexy voice. As we welcome in Coach Jim Toman, just a bit outside. I should mention that Clemson's Blake Wright, ACC Player of the Week, and why not? What a week he had, and some unbelievable numbers. 6 hits, 10 runs batted in, 7 runs batted in on 4 hits in the second game of the doubleheader against Georgia Tech. 9 of his 10 RBIs throughout that day, Friday, came with 2 outs. He's hitting .335 with 55 runs scored. Going to earn some All-American honors for sure. So we welcome in Coach Jim Toman, just a bit outside to talk some baseball here on Sports Talk. Welcome in, sir.
How you doing, guys? You doing all right?
We're doing great. How are you coming off the baseball weekend?
Doing good, man. I was actually got a chance to see Campbell play at UNC Wilmington on Saturday, and I drove down and did a little fishing in Columbia, looking for a house down there. The housing market is pretty dang good in Columbia, and I might move down there. That's where 2 of my kids are still down there in Columbia. But anyway, I just drove back to Lake Waccamaw, and I'm ready to talk a little baseball.
What you got?
Good weekend.
What you got for us?
The way things are going, we got to start with Clemson again. They keep hanging in there. They are now 36-10, 17-7 in the ACC, which going into last week they were second place overall. Now they're tied with North Carolina for the ACC overall record, and they're obviously still first in the Atlantic, but both of them, UNC and Clemson, are tied at 17-7 for the regular season championship. With I think everyone has 6 games left. Clemson still continues to be in a top 8 national type seed. Their RPI is 4th. They beat Georgia Tech 2 out of 3. They scored a lot of runs. They probably gave up a few too many, but they scored a ton. Just like you said, Blake Wright is having a great year, and that Canuck kid keeps pitching well, the freshman. They go to Charlotte on Tuesday, and then they go to Wake Forest, who's won a bunch in a row again. They're starting to get hot. I think they've won 7 or 8 in a row, and it's at Wake, so that'll be a big test. And then Clemson goes next week, middle of the week, to Coastal. That'll be a big game for Coastal to add to their resume, because Coastal's been struggling a little bit. And then Clemson finishes the season at home with Boston College. So right now, 17-7, first in the Atlantic and tied with UNC for the overall. Definitely look like a top 8 national seed, and they're doing it with 2 of their players that are out. So them guys have had a great year, and hopefully they can keep it going. South Carolina, the good news, they won 2 series in a row. I was driving down to Columbia, and we were losing. South Carolina was losing like 4-1 late to Missouri, and I'm like, this can't happen. They cannot lose to Missouri. I know sometimes it's hard to play there, but they were dead last in the SEC, and then all of a sudden I look it up, and it's they scored a bunch late. So that was huge for South Carolina to do that. That gives them a little breathing room in the conference. They're 13-11 now, and we're 13 in the RPI. The record is 32-15. So, every weekend is very important in the SEC, as you know. But we've got a team coming in here that's tied with South Carolina and Georgia, and they got probably the best hitter in the country coming in here. So, if I were a fan, I would get down there and watch them games. And if I was a pitching coach at South Carolina, I would probably walk that guy every opportunity I got. The way I look at it, if we walk that guy, Charlie Condon, he has 33 home runs, which is the most in the BB Core era. And he's I don't know, he's hitting 430 or 450. I don't know what he's hitting, but he looks like he could be a Player of the Year candidate. And if he doesn't get a hit in that series, I got to think South Carolina wins 2 out of 3. Therefore, Coach Toman recommends walking that guy at every opportunity that we get.
What would Ray Tanner do? That would be WRTD. What would Ray Tanner do?
Well, you're going to have to call the AD up and get him on your show one day and ask him. But I know he's going to pitch around that guy, and he's going to say that's the guy that we can't let beat us. And, obviously he's right now he's the hottest hitter in the country and may get drafted number 1 overall. I mean, he is 6'5" or 6'6" maybe, and weighs 216 pounds. Believe it or not, he was a redshirt as a freshman, so this is his 3rd year, so he's draft eligible. He's a redshirt soft now, but you're looking at probably, the best hitter in the country coming into Columbia. So I would definitely have to sit down for about an hour and figure it out with Coach Kingston and Coach Williams and Coach Lee and try to figure out how are we going to avoid letting this guy beat us. And then the best way to do it is to walk him. And, if the game's, out of hand and we're way up or way down, maybe let them hit. But if the game's on the line or anywhere close, we can't be letting that guy get any hits off of us.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing about Georgia is their leadoff guy is like leading the nation in on-base percentage, and at like .599. His name is Corey Collins, and he's just an on-base machine. We got to make him hit the ball. The guy has 40 walks, and he's been hit 20 times. So he's been on base for free 60 times, between walks and hit by pitches. So that guy, you need to make him hit, and Condon, you need to make him walk, okay, if you can figure that out, the way I look at it. But South Carolina still, because of the last 2 weekends, still got to be a host team, looks like a host team. They got to go to Winthrop. I heard that game at Winthrop Tuesday is sold out. They have UGA for 3 in the weekend, and then they got to go to Tennessee for 3. So the Gamecocks are down to, 7 games. I think the Gamecocks need to win 2 out of 3 at UGA. They don't want to have to go into Tennessee, who's one of the hottest teams in the country, and have to win 2 out of 3. So the Georgia series is going to be very, very important, just like all the SEC games.
Mm-hmm.
They're all important. Okay, but if we only go 2-4 down the stretch, we're still 15-15 in the league. We're still probably okay to host. But if we go anything less than 2-4, then that's probably not good to host. But I'm not on a committee, but they have a solid resume right now, and their RPI rank is 13. We got to get Coastal straightened out. They lost 8 in a row against good teams, and 2 or 3 of the games could have went either way. But they're only 27-20, and the committee's got a hard job to do because Coastal's RPI is great. It's 32, but they're like 8th in the Sun Belt Conference at 11-13, and they've lost 8 in a row. But they play UNCG on Tuesday, and then they host Georgia Tech for 3. They host Clemson, which would be a big game for Coastal for their resume, and then they're at Marshall for 3. So Coastal has 8 games left. They're going to be favored in 7 of them, despite losing the last 8. If I were a gambling man, they're going to be favored in 7 or 8 of them games. If they go 8-0 down the stretch, then they're in a regional. If they only go 5-3, it's gonna be tough for that committee. They're going to be on the bubble with some other teams in the state. For instance, College of Charleston is 33-11. They went 2-0 in the week. Their game Sunday against Coastal got rained out, and that hurt them because UNC Wilmington won all theirs. So now College of Charleston is in second place behind UNC Wilmington in the CAA. So the problem with College of Charleston, their record's 33-11, but their RPI is only 54. Okay, you're looking at strength of schedule. Coastal's non-conference strength of schedule is 3. They always play a great non-conference schedule. Coach Gilmore is a guru at that. And I think College of Charleston's non-conference strength of schedule is only 200. So do you take a team 33-11, who's in second place in the CAA at 16-4 with an RPI of 54, or do you give Coastal Carolina credit for playing a really good non-conference schedule and having a 32 RPI? But, I mean, they're 7th or 8th in the Sun Belt, which is a really good league. So that's the kind of things the committee is going to have to work on and figure out. And I'm not a guru at all that stuff, but I wouldn't want to be in the room making a decision between a 32 RPI Coastal Carolina squad and a 54 RPI College of Charleston team, because both of them deserve to be in, but sometimes not everyone can get in. There's only 64 teams. Rest of the league, Wofford has a 79 RPI, which is okay. They're 30-15. I think what hurts them is their non-conference state of schedule as well. So they're going to have to win the tournament in the Southern. The Citadel is RPI is 249. They're 1-17 in the Southern. USC Upstate has a pretty good record at 30 and I think they're 30-15 or 30-18. Can't read my writing, but they're 92 in the RPI and they're 3rd in the Big South. So once again, they're going to these tournaments play a big role in who's going to regionals. Winthrop has a 232 RPI and they're like 9th in the Big South. Charleston Southern, 180 RPI. They're 9-9. They're 4th in the Big South. They're 18-26 overall. Presbyterian is interesting because they're over 500, 25-22. Their RPI is really bad at 179, but they're in first place in the Big South at 15-6. You won't get an at-large bid with an RPI 179, but they may get a trophy that says they're the regular season Big South champions, but that's a one-bid league this year, and whoever wins that tourney will go to the regionals. Real quick, wanted to give a little shout-out, number one, to Charlie Condon. I mean, the guy is just phenomenal, 33 home runs. He broke that record. The other thing is Cole Messina, South Carolina. He's getting in a groove. He had a big week. He was 9 for 14. 2 doubles, a triple, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, and that's a good indicator that South Carolina bats are coming on strong late in the year. So there was no panic at all by Monty Lee. He's got them swinging it better than they have. Messina and Petrie are coming into their own. I like what they did with putting Brindling in the lineup, and that Jackson kid has been very consistent the last 3-4 weeks. Ty Good, the kid from the transfer from College of Charleston, is doing really good in relief. So I like South Carolina, but I did want to mention Cole Messina. He's getting hot. He didn't have a great year so far, but now he's turning it on when it counts. That's all I got today. I will say one last thing. Maryland Eastern Shore, guys, they're still got it going. 0-41. They got 8 games left. And we may be looking at 0-49. I don't know.
No.
They got 8 more chances. And I just hope they can win one. They just lost their last game 10-9.
Oh.
Yeah.
One quick question. Does Clemson have enough pitching to get to Omaha? Does Clemson have, because they'll be a national top seed the way it is now, so everything's going to be lined up for them, regional, super regional. Do they have enough pitching to go to Omaha? Or do they need enough pitching? Is their offense so good that they're not going to have great pitching through the tournament?
If you look at the series this year, and they've won an awful lot of 2 out of 3 series, so that's a super regional, okay? They're going to be playing someone in a super. If they got to get out of their regional. They haven't done that in a while. But if you look at their record all year long, they've won in a bunch of different ways. They've hit the ball, they've played defense, they've pitched, they've been one of the most consistent teams in the country. So they're going to be at home in that regional, and they need to bust through and get to that super regional, and then it's best 2 out of 3, which they're really good at, because I don't know how much have they lost the series yet this year. 2 out of 3.
NC State, I believe, won the series against them.
That was it, and that was a shocker. But that was a little bump in the road, and now they got it going again. I mean, they're going to be tough to beat. It's going to be packed houses at home. And it looks, if they finish off how they're supposed to against Charlotte and then Wake and then Coastal and Boston College, they're going to be hosting a regional. And I would assume they'll be one of the top 8 national, which if they win the regional, they'll get to be at home again. So if there's any year that they're going to get back to Omaha, it's been a while for them, and it's been a while for South Carolina as well.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the year right now. Let's do it.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're moving back to Columbia. I got a house next to mine that's up for sale. You can be my neighbor, and we can sit on the back porch and talk baseball all the time.
Well, let's do it. I don't know where you live, but I'm not rich, so I don't know if I can afford that house next to you. But,
I bought the Muschamp house out there on the lake when he left town. It was
I might be able to rent a room at the bottom of Muschamp's house. That's about all I'll be able to do. But maybe someone out there will let the big guy rent free for I'll be the bodyguard or something. I'm a big, strong guy.
You are. But let me know when you're in town.
Anyone looking for someone to rent a spot in their house, and I'll come down to the capital city, and we'll have a blast.
All right, let me know when you're in town. If not, we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much, Coach Jim Toman, just a bit outside here on Sport. I learned so much listening to him.
Well, and he brought up the same point that I mentioned about walking Charlie Condon, and I was incorrect. He actually has 35 strikeouts and 33 home runs, so not quite more home runs. But the problem is with that strategy, and it makes sense for a guy batting .459. You really can't let him beat you. But Georgia as a team has hit 122 home runs.
Amazing.
So, I mean, as ridiculous as the numbers are for Condon, he's got guys that can help him in that lineup if you try and pitch around him, because teams have. He's walked 41 times.